Sniper Elite 5. It's a big old sandbox now, and you can approach levels in a lot of different ways. You can make those sweet long-range shots, or you can just humiliate the crap out of Nazis. Some things in the game surprised us on our first run, so we're here to teach you 10 things that we wish we knew before starting Sniper Elite 5. Normally I'd start a guide like this with the fundamentals, but I'd just rather start with my favorite mechanic of the entire game. That's right, we're going to talk about the humble bottle. Bottles can knock soldiers out with a well-placed shot to the head, and because you throw it in an arc, it's one of the few weapons in the game that can do this over the top of cover while an enemy is fully hunkered down. Bottles can be used to quickly take down two guards standing side by side, which otherwise you'd need your co-op buddy to do. Or if you're an absolute stone cold killer, you can lay a mine, lure a Nazi over, then knock them out so they fall on top of that mine. Which is more humane, I think? This Sniper Elite game will give you an X-ray kill cam on a wide array of kills now, which includes knives and pistols, so believe me when I say that you won't miss out if you focus your initial upgrades on the 1911 pistol instead of your first sniper rifle. Many of the maps in this game are massive, and chances of pulling off that full stealth run initially are pretty low unless you have a lot of patience and you're willing to reload a lot of saves. For many of you though, there's going to be panicked moments where you run across a guard, and in order to not alert the entire level, you're going to have to rely on a fast-firing suppressed backup weapon like the 1911. You can upgrade it early, and you should. Within the first 3 levels, I already had one kitted out with a stock, scope, and some armor-piercing ammo. It was basically a mini sniper rifle. While we're talking about guns in this game, there are a few things to make use of here. You can now use iron sights on all weapons, but more importantly, the game remembers which gun you have in third person and which guns in first person. So with a little prep work at the start of each round, you can get your precision guns in iron sights and your SMGs and panic weapons in third person. That way you can adapt to situations quickly, such as how you definitely want to be in third person inside of buildings to see what's around you. Don't forget that in third person you can shoulder swap, and you should always round corners from the correct side. There's also now an active reload mechanic that you have to pay attention to, especially in the middle of a loud firefight. Make sure to nail the reload quickly, but also remember it's still usually faster to go to another weapon. These levels are massive, I may have said this a bunch of times already, and there's a lot of ways through them, and items to find like weapon benches and caches, keys, crowbars, and explosives. These items let you customize weapons, get into locked chests, and open up new routes across the map. Give yourself permission. It's okay to fudge your first run and get around quickly to learn where these things are before pulling off that sweet stealth run. Another advantage is that, although you will unlock some items through play, you need to find weapon benches to open up certain gun attachments, like the suppressor for your starting sniper rifle. Invasions can be confusing at first, especially if you're the one being invaded. This is where another player enters your game as one of the enemy soldiers and tries to take you out. Unlike Dark Souls, you're not going to know who this enemy player is. They don't have like a tint or anything like that. If you're invaded, stop playing against the environment and focus all of your energy on hunting that other player down. You're at a huge disadvantage if you try to manage both the level objectives and the player versus player aspects. It's pretty easy for the invading player to just follow the sounds of your gunshots and track you down. So the first thing you need to do is swap all of your weapons to whatever the quietest thing that you have. The levels will have phones scattered around that you can find or are marked on the minimap. Go find one and call it to see where the other player is likely to be, knowing they're actually doing the exact same thing at the exact same time. There's some sneaky things you can do, like booby trap phones you think they're likely to use, kill enemies and trap their bodies, or set up on a sightline. But you're not allowed to camp. The game will give you a couple warnings and then just physically kill you if you try it. You have plenty of options when it comes to distracting enemies. For example, many explosives will let you set short or long-term timers. Set a long timer and then sneak around the other side. So when it goes off, it'll pull the guards away and you can slip on by. You'll find these short and long timers also on some types of mines and enemy lures. To get extra lethal, put a lure down on top of a landmine. Then there's bottles, which yes, we are still talking about. They can be used to turn an enemy away from you even when they're actively spotting you. Feel free to combo distractions and explosives in a lot of different ways to do things like lure some guards over to some TNT you tossed on the ground. Honestly, it's really fun to just mess with the bad guys in this game. You can't throw mines, but you can mine a body and throw that. This is useful if enemies are just below you and you're out of grenades. There isn't much more to say about this, I just wanted to tell you. The most powerful weapon in the game is your hard knuckles. For better or worse, enemies in Sniper Elite aren't too bright, and if you stand in a doorway and whistle, you can quickly build up a huge pile of bodies, because they just keep falling for that one over and over again. Keep this strategy in mind if you're running low on ammo. In general, melee takedowns are faster than guns and have a surprisingly decent range. We may have mentioned earlier, several times, that some of these levels are massive, like it took one of us over 2 hours to get through the first mission silently. There's a good chance you'll get spotted, and enemies in Sniper Elite 5 tend to escalate to higher levels of alarm pretty quick. That means a lot of you will choose a faster run and gun style. To give you a better chance, there are a few things you can focus on first. The main 3 things are shooting out alarms as you come across them, taking down officers first to weaken their squads, and setting up a ton of random mines as well as booby traps on dead enemy soldiers. Laying lots of mines and traps creates a lot of chaos, and that confuses the AI as to where you are. There's a good chance you'll be in the middle of getting swarmed at some point, and some explosive will go off halfway across the map, drawing them away from you and saving your life. The other critical thing is to invest early unlock tree points in the combat skill tree, go for back to the fight that allows you to self-revive as long as you have a med pack. Then head on over to the far right tree, which is called body, and pick up health boost 1 and 2 so you can take more damage. As you progress in the game, you can use workbenches to build pretty lethal run and gun loadouts with close range sniper rifles, a baller 1911 pistol, and better SMGs. You can even use non-lethal bullets, which are very effective at quickly knocking out soldiers. For you milsim enthusiasts out there, the game still has an authentic mode, which vastly reduces HUD information and cranks up environmental factors that affect your bullet in flight. Although this is the most difficult standard mode, you can go into custom settings and make it even harder if you want to. At the default hardest difficulty though, here's how to make those long-range shots. Being a video game, this isn't totally realistic, and that's kinda helpful. You still get 2 main pieces of information: the ability to scan targets with your binoculars to get the range, which you can then dial into your scope, and also inside your scope, you get windage and drop indicators, which tell you how far a bullet will drift up, down, left, or right after you fire it. These 2 hatch marks here give you that information. It's a lot less precise than on easier modes. This works for your scope-equipped pistols as well. You can then dial that range into your scope. That's helpful because if you have to dial in, say, 400 meters for a target under 400 meters, the hatch marks will indicate that you actually need to aim a little bit low. On the hardest difficulty, more than other modes, you'll need to go prone and listen to your heart. When your heart rate is slow, your scope's crosshairs will drift less, which helps avoid throwing a shot off target. That matters because without scope drift from breathing and heart rate, etc., your rifle will center dead on your binoculars last position, and just swapping between the 2 will place your crosshairs right on target. Definitely aim center of mass at long range because heads are too small. When it comes to hiding your position, wait for that loud noise like passing airplanes before you take your shot. Guards will alert more quickly and aggressively if they hear you. We generally found anything at 100 to 200 meters to be pretty consistent with the rest of the game. At 300 meters, shots got pretty tricky, mostly because of how tiny targets in the distance appeared. At 400 meters, shots became very difficult, and sometimes it was easier to get an environmental kill using a larger target in the area. For example, this gargoyle was larger and easier to hit than the enemy sniper patrolling below it. It is fun when it all works out. So that should get you started with Sniper Elite 5. What's something that surprised you in the game? And what's something fun you learned that other players could use? These were just our initial experiences. Let us know in the comments below. We cover a ton of first-person and third-person shooters, so join us over on GameSpot and GameSpot's YouTube page. Thanks for watching.